History on Postage Stamps, The Planet Mars, by Dennis M. Morrison. On May 25, 2008, the Pheonix Mars lander descended to the surface of the red planet and began a most fascinating mission. While at the time of its landing there was no special stamp issued by the United States Postal Service to commemorate this awesome event, however, this cached postal cover, beautifully executed, was stamped at Pasadena, California, to commemorate the landing. The mission scientists used instruments on board the lander to search for environments that would be suitable for microbial life to exist and to research the history of water on the planet. The Pheonix mission to Mars was the first mission led by a public university in NASA history. The project was led directly from the University of Arizona's campus in Tucson, with project management at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, and project development at Lockheed Martin in Denver, Colorado. The cached envelope, by the way, was postmarked at Pasadena, California. Pheonix was NASA's sixth successful landing out of 7 attempts, and the first successful landing in the Martian polar region. The lander completed its mission on August 2008 and made a last brief communication with Earth on November 2nd. As available solar power dropped with the Martian winter. The mission was declared concluded on November 10, 2008, after engineers were unable to contact the craft. After unsuccessful attempts to contact the lander by the Mars Odyssey orbiter up to and past the Martian summer solstice on May 12, 2010, JPL declared that the lander to be dead. The program was considered a success because it completed all planned science experiments and observations. The mission had 2 goals. One was to study the geologic history of water, the key to unlocking the story of past climate change. The second was to evaluate past or potential planetary habitability in the ice-soil boundary. Pheonix instruments were suitable for uncovering information on the geological and possible biological history of the Martian Arctic. Pheonix was the first mission to return data from either of the poles and contributed to NASA's main strategy for Mars exploration, which was follow the water. The primary mission was anticipated to last 90 Sol Martian days, just over 92 Earth days. However, the craft exceeded its expected operational lifetime by a little over 2 months before succumbing to the increasing cold and dark of an advancing Martian winter. Researchers had hoped that the lander would survive into the Martian winter so that it could witness polar ice developing around it, and perhaps up to 1 meter of solid carbon dioxide ice could have appeared. Even had it survived some of the winter, the intense cold would have prevented it from lasting all the way through. The mission was chosen to be a fixed lander rather than a rover because costs were reduced through reuse of earlier equipment. The area of Mars where Pheonix landed is thought to be relatively uniform, and thus traveling is of less value, and the equipment weight that would be required to allow Pheonix to travel can instead be dedicated to more and better scientific instruments. The 2003-2004 observations of methane gas on Mars were made remotely by 3 teams working with separate data. If the methane is truly present in the atmosphere of Mars, then something must be producing it on the planet now because the gas is broken down by radiation on Mars within 300 years. Therefore, the importance to search for biological potential or habitability of the Martian Arctic soil. Methane could also be the product of geochemical process or the result of volcanic or hydrothermal activity. Other future missions may now enable us to discover whether life does indeed exist on Mars today. The mission gave the average everyday person like you and I a way to have a truly personal part in things via the internet in a unique project called Visions of Mars, and this is in fact a very special DVD. This was compiled by the Planetary Society, and it contains a multimedia collection of literature and art about the red planet. This is essentially the very first library on the planet Mars. Works included the text of H.G. Wells' Of Course War of the Worlds, as well as the 1930s Orson Welles broadcast of the same name, Percival Lowell's Mars as the Abode of Life, with maps of his proposed canals, Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles, and Kim Stanley Robinson's Green Mars. There are also messages directly addressed to future Martian visitors or settlers from Carl Sagan and Arthur C. Clarke. But in 2006, the Planetary Society collected the names of 250,000 people submitted through the Internet and placed them also on the DVD. The 2 certificates which you are seeing now were issued via the Internet to those whose names were included. These 2 are for myself and my stepson, David P. Israel Morrison. The Pheonix DVD is made of a special silica glass designed to withstand the Martian environment, lasting for hundreds, if not thousands of years on the surface while it awaits discoverers. The following text is just below the center of the disc. The text reads, "This archive provided to the NASA Pheonix mission by the Planetary Society contains literature and art, greetings from Mars visionaries of our day, and the names of 21st century Earthlings who wanted to send their names to Mars. This DVD-ROM is designed to be read on personal computers in 2007. Information is stored in a spiral groove on the disc. A laser beam can scan the groove when metallized, or a microscope can be used. Very small bumps and holes represent the zeros and ones of digital information. The groove is about 0.74 micrometers wide. For more information, refer to the standards document ECMA-268 DVD readable only disc." Lastly, I'd like to show you a rare look at what science back in the 1930s thought the Mars surface might look like. Times they sure have changed. The illustration you are looking at was from the 1930s, or a 1930s natural history book, not something off the wall, but a well-accepted scientific book. The caption for this fantastic illustration reads, "A theoretical view of the edge of a Martian canal as drawn by Stephen Bolton. The markings on Mars, which appear as broad lines from Earth, are supposed to be strips of vegetation bordering on the streams." And even though Venus is not the subject of this piece, this illustration by the same artist appeared in the same book and is captioned, "Venus. Because of an atmosphere so thick that it has not yet been penetrated, plant life is possible. Venus is a planetary enigma." But notice how it is pictured with the volcano in the background and science assuming that there was plant life there. It is amazing in the 1930s that science was at least open to the possibility of life existing on Mars and maybe even Venus, and this thought process was lost and only recovered in more recent times. It is amazing to me also that from a simple postal cover, a fascinating mini collection was easily to be built. That in this case, with the Planetary Society DVD, can reach from beyond my own file cabinet collections across millions of miles to another planet.